Thank you. Discussion and action items. Number one is discussion of outdoor peddling, vending from public and private property. Angelique Gaeta, Assistant to City Manager, has an update for us, and we have lots of requests to speak. And so, I guess first is presentation.
Thank you. Angelique Gaeta, Assistant to the City Manager, and the reason that our office is coming before the Neighborhoods Commission this evening is because we've heard some concerns from the community following changes that the City Council approved to street vending, and specific street vending from private property. Since the implementation of that program, again, we have heard some concerns, and so we wanted to get some input from the community. We thought the Neighborhoods Commission would be the perfect place to do that, and we hope that you would carry this information to your constituents so that they understand what changes are likely to come down the road in the very near future. We also wanted to schedule some public outreach meetings in conjunction with the commission, so we would invite you to attend those meetings as well and encourage your constituents to do the same. So without further ado, we'll be going over background on outdoor vending from private property, proposed amendments to the municipal code, vendor stakeholder input, the need for input from vendor and community stakeholders, and the next steps that we plan to take. So by way of background, before May of 2013, no outdoor vending was allowed in residential zoning districts, and outdoor vending from private property required either an administrative permit or a special use permit. In addition, the vending facilities themselves had to be a minimum of at least 150 feet away from any residentially used lot. And the administrative permit, if that's what the vendor chose to obtain or needed to obtain, was at a cost of $850 for 1 year and $850 for the 2-year renewal. After meeting for a number of months with the Health Trust and Sacred Heart representatives, we brought forward to the council on May 14th, 2013, some changes to our vending ordinance. Those changes were both for vending on public property and vending from private property, but tonight the discussion will focus only on vending from private property. So in that regard, some of the changes that were made by the council were that vending of whole uncut fruits and vegetables was now a permitted use in residential zoning districts, where vending was previously prohibited. The whole uncut fruit and vegetables was a type of vending that was carved out to promote access to healthy foods by members of the community. In addition, the council approved up to 2 hours of vending per vendor and up to 4 hours of vending per site without a permit, so without an administrative permit or a special use permit, provided that the vending occurred between 7 a.m. and 9 p.m. on a lot that was used primarily for schools, libraries, community centers, or religious assembly, and the vendor had written authorization from the property owner and did not vend closer than 100 feet of a residentially used lot. So the prior 150-foot buffer was reduced to 100 feet. In addition, to assist vendors with the cost of the permit, of an admin permit, should they require one, because they wanted to vend for a longer period of time, we extended the 1-year term of the admin permit to 3 years, allowing the cost to be spread over a 3-year period of time, and then the subsequent renewal of the permit from a 2-year period to a 5-year period, again expanding the cost over a period of time. Since that time, again, we have heard from members of the community, specifically representatives from the Health Trust and Sacred Heart, and they let us know that they were interested in increasing the time to vend without a permit from the previously approved 2 hours to 4 hours per vendor. The reason, as explained to our staff, was that what they had discovered was that it was taking the vendors approximately a half an hour to set up, and then another half an hour to break down the vending facility and the goods that were being sold, And so in reality, they were only actually getting to vend for an hour without a permit, and that kind of defeated the purpose of us going to council to begin with. So this is a request that the administration can support and would support, absent hearing any concerns from the community or the commission. In addition, the representatives from Health Trust and Sacred Heart asked that we reconsider the buffer between the vending facility and the residentially used lots, and to further decrease that buffer from 100 feet to 50 feet. And that will be measured from the lot line to the closest part of the vending facility. You can just back up 1 second. The reason for that request was that the Health Trust and Sacred Heart representatives had done a study with students from San Jose State and looking at areas where they wanted to actually increase the vending of healthy foods, and determined that there were not a lot of parcels available to actually have these vendors locate within. And so as a result, they came back to us with a request that the buffer be further decreased to allow for additional parcels within the neighborhoods where they were focused. In addition, and I'm sorry, the staff could support that request as well. In addition, the concerns or requests that we heard from the Health Trust and Sacred Heart revolved around the term of the permit and the cost of the permit. They requested that instead of the 3-year term at the cost of $850, that we actually make the term of the permit 1 year and to be renewed annually at a cost of $283, so a third of the cost each year. In addition, they requested that the administrative permit be able to apply to multiple sites so that vendors wouldn't have to get multiple permits. The administration did go through the costs involved with these changes and determined that it was not something the administration could support at this time for a number of reasons. One being that regardless of the term of the permit, it takes the same amount of staff time, so that when a permit is reviewed on the front end, a site inspection is performed, paperwork is reviewed, and an approval or denial is issued. The cost of that staff work amounts to $850, whether you come in every year or every 3 years, it's the same amount of work. In addition, with regard to multiple sites, again, the reason is the same. It's the same amount of work. If you have a second or third site added on to the permit, the staff then has to go do their due diligence in the site inspection, and also making sure that all the other requirements of the zoning ordinance are met with regard to buffers and distance and things like that. And there's a long list of them. I won't go over them now, but we can answer any specific questions the commission has about that. And my understanding is that representatives from both the Health Trust and Sacred Heart are here tonight to speak to those requests. The reason that we would be asking the commission to join us in community outreach, and the reason that we believe it's important, is because we had significant feedback from community stakeholders regarding the changes that we took forward to council in May 2013. We had feedback from both the vendor stakeholders in terms of relaxing the requirements from the city's perspective so that it was easier for them to work through the system. And we also had significant feedback from community stakeholders, specifically residents in neighborhoods that felt that the vendors needed to be better regulated in terms of where they located, and not having them too close to intersections or interfere with either vehicular or pedestrian safety or thoroughfares. In addition, they wanted to ensure that the vendors were complying with other county requirements in terms of the health department and things of that nature. So because we had a significant amount of interest in the topic, we feel if we're going to make further changes, even if it's with regard to vending on private property, because those properties may be adjacent to residential zones or within residential zones and adjacent to residential uses, we need to go back out to that same community. and we would request the Commission's assistance in that regard. Specifically, we would be looking at 2 community meetings, one located here at City Hall in these rooms to occur on March 28th is the date we were able to secure in the last few days, from 10 a.m. to 12 noon. And we chose this location because it's centrally located in the city and gives everybody an opportunity to have public transportation here. There will be parking underground made available that can be validated for everybody that attends, and we have the facilities to conduct the outreach. We're also looking at District 5, since that's where a substantial amount of the interest came from last time, given that a lot of the vendors were located within that district. And we're still looking for a location and a date to do that. We suspect early April for that date. And we will definitely keep the Commission and the community organizations notified of that date as well. Once we do the community outreach, provided that we have positive feedback and support for the changes that the administration would recommend, the next step would be to go forward for the Planning Commission's review and approval, and then depending on the Planning Commission's action, to go forward to the City Council to approve these changes to the ordinance. And we're available if you have any questions.
So one right off the top, this is separate from farmers markets?
That's correct.
So that's separately regulated?
That's correct.
Okay. Now, I've seen people just on the street corner selling strawberries. Is that covered by this, or is that separate or illegal, or?
If they're on public property, like a sidewalk, and probably on public property, it is not what we're talking about this evening, and those individuals are subject to regulations. If you see them at a corner, at an intersection right at the corner, chances are that they have not received city approval to be there. The regulations for public property have a certain required setback so that there's no interference with traffic at that intersection.
Here.
Couple of comments. It would help if we had maybe some sketches to show, what you're talking about as far as setbacks and what's existing, so I get an idea. You're talking about 50 feet here and 100 feet from the street, from the residence, open lot, whatever. Have little sketches be helpful to see what that is. Secondly, I'm not clear here. There's several items. I guess starting with your slide 3 is what the amendments were. You disagreed with the reduction in the fee, the $850 reduction. Was that what you didn't? Do you support everything else, or what?
We support the increase from 2 hours to 4 hours without a permit,
Okay.
and we support the decrease in the buffer from 100 feet to 50 feet. Originally, that buffer was 150 feet. So I appreciate your comment about the map, so we can get this.
And then the other thing, what you didn't agree with was the reduction of the...
We could not support the reduction in the cost.
I have a problem with other issues with permit costs. How do you come up with an $850 cost? I can see that comes out to roughly $70 a month. I mean, how do you come up with a figure like that?
Those costs are actually dictated by the planning division. They have very set costs for the staff that it takes and how they bill out staff to go and conduct site inspections and to do review of applications. So those amounts have already been set for quite a period of time.
I was kind of forcing a monthly, kind of like, $50 a month to come up with a round number. That's the way my mind works. Thank you.
Okay. Juan?
So, just a clarification, because as I understand it from the Sacred Heart letter, it's not 850 for 1 year, it's 850 for 3 years, so that would be 36 months. And the way I interpreted the letter, they're not asking for a reduction from 850 for 3 years to 283 for 3 years. They're saying divide 850 by 3 years, charges 283 for each of the 3 years. That would be a discount of $1 over the 3-year term. And I think what I heard from city staff is that unfortunately the approximate cost would be $850 per year in expenses from the city to redo the process. I only wondered, why not just make it an installment plan? So you're only going out once, and you're letting them have it for 3 years. So if what they're asking for is an installment payment, let me make this in 3 payments, I can't see why that would be an objection.
In response to that question, the planning division simply doesn't have the resources to set up the program that way. The planning division is already understaffed. Initially, the term of the permit was for 1 year at $850. What we did was, instead of making a year at $850, we expanded it to 3 years at $850 to give them more time to come up with the money, but the money is due up front. They just don't have to pay it for year 2 or year 3. They come in at the 3rd year and renewal, and then at the renewal, that instead of that lasting for 2 years, that lasts 5 years. So 5 years. So it's $850 for the first 3 years, and then $850 every 5 years thereafter.
Sounds like it's
so-
$850 to do the paperwork.
Right, yeah, that's
Right. And so I'm just trying to understand. So you come out, today's 1, you do the work, you've incurred $850 in expenses. Planning doesn't do billing, so for the first year they get billed, let's just make it $300. The second year, the same service that bills me for my garbage bills them another $300, and the 3rd year another $300. Planning still only did the work once. Planning doesn't do the billing. You could even build in what I'll call it interest into that, where it's $300 or some figure that you deem appropriate. So to me, it sounds like not an impossible challenge to overcome. If there are other reasons, it would be good to know, because at this point, I don't see a need to duplicate the work 3 times just to bill them 3 times.
Okay, Moses?
Okay, my name is Moses, I'm from the 7th District. We have a flea market twice a year there at one of our walkways. We have to get a permit through Parks and Rec. And part of that permit is that we don't have food sold in our area. We have to sign that permit. We had last year a person that was a vendor. He came down and he set up his vending area. Well, what we do is we have spots that people get for the flea market. So he purchased a spot and set up his vending area. He was barbecuing and stuff like that, plus selling food. We approached him and said that we can't even do it ourselves. But he said his argument was that the city already gave him a permit to sell whatever he wanted to sell. So we had our agreement with the Parks and Rec that we could not do it. So if we can't do it, why is he supposed to be able to do it? I think there's a conflict of interest here. Parks and Rec with the city and their rules. So I think we really do have a problem here. We said no. Gave him back his money.
Okay, so let me take, do you have an answer, or?
I didn't know that there was a question, I'm sorry. I thought you were just
So,
making a
I'll
statement
make a
about it.
comment. So let me take public comments here. We have a lot of speakers, and do I have everybody in card? I think I see some people there that don't have cards, but anyhow, Peggy Tomaso? Yeah. You normally get 2 minutes, but we have a lot of
Hi.
speakers, so.
I live in the Willow Glen. I live in the Willow Glen area near the Willow Glen High School and the Willow Glen Middle School. And we did not have a problem with vendors until the last 2 years when this thing changed. And all of a sudden we have vendors in our neighborhoods, in our driveways. We have 20, 25 kids on our lawns, standing around the vendor, buying things, passing around. And I'm not sure if this is a preview for this committee, but when enforcement has come out, they have said they're fine. They've got a permit, they can do it on our properties. And it looks to me like they should be 100 feet away. And I wouldn't want it to be 50 if on my lawn is 100 feet away. I think there needs to be something done about enforcement if that's the case. I'm very concerned, and the school won't have them on the property because they're not selling healthy food. The schools can only allow them on the property. I think if they sell healthy food, the vendors are not allowed to be on the school's property.
I thought this was fruit and vegetables.
So our neighbors, there's many of us that have had this happen to us. We've got pictures we can show you if you need them. And I just thought I would bring our concerns forward. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Elizabeth Cruz?
I'm going to be translating for her afterwards.
Buenas noches, mi nombre es Elizabeth Cruz, soy madre de 3 hijos y pertenezco al grupo de carritos frescos. El objetivo principal de los vendedores de carritos frescos es mejorar el acceso a opciones saludables en el barrio que lo más lo necesitan a través de la iniciativa empresarial y colaboración. Como vendedores de carritos frescos somos líderes en la comunidad y podemos pertenecer a un vendedor unido, un colectivo de propietarios de pequeñas empresas dedicadas a la misma de aumentar las opciones saludables, especialmente en las comunidades de bajo ingreso y marginadas. Sabemos que los primeros pasos de la vida saludable es el acceso a frutas y vegetales frescos. Nuestro programa ofrece una oportunidad de iniciar un cambio de estilo de vida a largo plazo, la reducción de los problemas de salud relacionados con la dieta que se produce con demasiada frecuencia en las familias de bajo ingreso. Los vendedores de carritos frescos ofrecen productos de calidad y asequibles donde la gente camina y se reúne. El acceso a los alimentos frescos es la necesidad y un derecho. Y los vendedores trabajamos juntos para hacer esto realidad en las comunidades a las que servimos y amamos. Gracias.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, can I just interject? There is a binder here of all the letters that were sent to you, and I did send them to all the commissioners. Quite a bit of them, I think 20 megabytes of letters from organizations and from, did anybody not receive them?
I did receive them. I
Yeah,
received them and I read them, and they were all from a year ago, so I was kind of wondering why this is coming to us now. And if we do 7 or 8 speakers at 2 minutes each, plus translations, we won't get to probably the main topic we have tonight, because we're also supposed to talk about police drone.
There's only one excuse me for interrupting, there'll be only one translation.
Okay, you want to raise the thing up so you
Sure.
don't have to bend over?
Yeah, and
just grab it in the middle and lift up.
I'm used to megaphones. So, good evening, my name is Elizabeth Cruz. I am a mother of 3 and I am part of Fresh Carts Group. The primary goal of Fresh Carts vendors is to improve access to healthy options in neighborhoods which need them the most through small business and collaboration. We are community leaders that belong to Vendors United, a collective of sustainable small businesses owners dedicated to the mission of increasing healthy options, especially in low-income and underserved communities. Access to nutritious fresh fruits and vegetables is crucial in order to begin an intergenerational lifestyle shift towards better health and the reduction of diet-related health problems that occur far too often in low-income families and communities. Fresh Cart vendors offer affordable quality produce where people walk and gather so that healthy options are normalized and integrated into daily life habits. Access to fresh food is a necessity and a right, and vendors are working together to make this a reality in the communities that they serve and love.
Okay, thank you. Eddie Orozco?
Yeah, thank you. Basically what we're talking about here is getting healthy food, and it is emphasized on fruits and vegetables. And this is directed towards schools. So I know there's issues brought up about the neighborhoods on the grass and that, but again, this is directed basically towards schools. So basically we have 4 demands that were mentioned in the previous presentation. One is to increase the number of hours a mobile car vendor selling whole uncut fruits and vegetables can vend on private property with the permission of the landlord and without an administrative permit from 2 to 4 hours. Again, that was already brought up. Number 2, decrease the buffer between a fresh cart vendor and a lot or property used for residential purposes from 100 feet to 50 feet. Number 3, decrease the upfront cost of an administrative permit to $283 for the duration of 1 year or through a payment installment plan. And number 4, allow the administrative permit to apply to multiple approved vending sites on private property. And again, this is general wording, but again, the fresh cart's emphasis is on, again, healthy food to schools. So just to notate that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Actually, may I ask a question of Angelique here? So, it says on private property, does that mean not schoolyards? Is the schoolyards considered public property then?
If it's owned by a public entity, then it's public property. If it's owned by a private entity, like a private school, for example, that's considered private property.
So they cannot sell on the Willow Glen High School because that's public property?
Correct.
And they cannot sell on somebody's yard because that is within 0 feet of a residential lot. So how would they sell in, say by Willow Glen? I'm just choosing Willow Glen High School. Would there be any place there they could sell?
Off the top of my head, there's a church right across the street from Willow Glen High School.
So they could be in a church then?
Yes, private property, provided that there's the buffer. If this goes forward, it would be 50 feet from any residentially used lot. So it may be in a residential zone, but not used residentially, then the buffer would not apply.
But otherwise, it sounds like they'd be in the parking lot of a shopping center. That's about the only thing it sounds.
And they would be in those locations as well.
So, and I know that a resident of Willow Glen stated that there were vendors in locations that aren't allowed, and for me, it's unclear to me that those are fresh cart vendors. I just hear that there are vendors. Okay, so there are vendors, and they're breaking the rules, and ideally there will be enforcement. But I think what we're looking at, I think we're definitely focused on fresh cart vendors on private property allowed by the property owner, and with, you know, the buffer, whatever it's deemed to be. So I too would be concerned if someone was selling fruit from a cart in my neighbor's driveway, but it sounds like that's not the situation we're looking at right now.
Well, yes, it is. Then what are we looking at? We're looking at mobile peddlers, or are we looking at a specific program of fresh fruits and
Okay,
vegetables?
first of all,
Sorry.
you can't speak right now. It's a commission discussion until you have your turn. It's the rules of decorum of the meeting here. Second of all, the commission will discuss, and they have the opportunity to go ahead and interject. You're still in public comment though, so you'll have the opportunity to come up here and make your comments.
So let me go through this. I did not get your speaker card anyway. So
I know.
Julian Posadas.
My name is Julian Posadas. I'm the Sacred Heart organizer for Fresh Carts. So I'm the one in charge of making sure that the peddlers the Fresh Cart vendors are actually in compliance with the law. So what you see here today, this is like a prime example of what a fresh cart looks like. This is how big it is. This is the umbrella. We're very distinguished from the other vendors. We obviously encourage people to come and buy from us because we do provide quality uncut fruits and vegetables. So I just want to reiterate what some of the points that have been coming up. Sacred Heart is dedicated to make sure that these vendors are compliance with the law. We know that there's limitations. Limitations are the ones that we bring forward, partly because we know that a lot of the health issues are raised through a young age. We know that our kids, once they leave the school, they're confronted by what? Junk food. That's what it comes down to. And so we want to provide an alternative to that. And we've been very successful in certain schools, but we know that as our second cohort of vendors come up, we want to make sure that they also have access to other sites where we can make a difference. We know that having a fresh cart in front of a school is only the beginning. We know that our our main mission is long down the road. But if we don't start now, then we obviously are continuing the cycle of unhealthy children, which leads actually to a greater health risk as they go through middle school and high school. And these are the trends that we can actually identify in some of the county reports that have been established, partly because we do have a health issue in this county. So that's the reason why we're here. We know that the limitations are crucial, and we understand that you all need to obviously make a decision or make a recommendation. We just wanted to make sure that you understood that when you see an umbrella like this, this is what we mean. We want to make sure that we're distinguishable from the rest of the vendors. Our vendors also provide organics that are locally sourced. We obviously do provide tropical fruits that a lot of the communities are destined to buy, but we try to source as locally as much as possible because we know that's also a demand. Thank you.
Thank you. Ryan Vasquez.
Hi, my name is Ryan Vasquez. I'm just here. I'm a San Jose State student, and I'm here to also support the group with having the fresh cart, not only schools but also on campus.
Okay, thank you. Dominic Vargas.
Hello, my name is Dominic Barnes. I'm also a student at San Jose State University. I'm also here to support this program to promote a variety of healthier options for our community to ensure healthier lifestyles for the people in our community.
Thank you. Vanessa Diaz.
Hello, my name is Vanessa Diaz. I'm also a student at San Jose State University. I would like to support these city ordinance changes to promote access to healthy foods and promoting healthy lifestyles. As a mother of 5, access to healthy foods and affordability is important to me because of my kids' health and my own. Also, increasing availability and access to affordable healthy foods. It can limit the spending of gas or time I could be spending with my family. Thank you.
Thank you. Aaron Ely.
Hi, I'm here from the Health Trust. I'm the director of the Healthy Eating Initiative. And I just wanted to first clarify, I think there's a lot of confusion about what exactly we're talking about. So the Fresh Carts program, as Julian said, is strictly only this type of cart. It's a program that is funded by the Health Trust, a health foundation here in San Jose, that includes the support and the oversight of several community organizations and the Health Trust. It is based on a model from New York City called Green Carts. We have invested over $500,000 to ensure that vendors have technical assistance and support, that they have training, that they have ongoing support to understand the regulations and the rules. A lot of the vendors that have been mentioned so far tonight are not Fresh Carts vendors, so I really want to make sure that we're clear about that. There are only a couple of Fresh Carts vendors on the street because the current legislation really zones them completely out of where we want the fresh carts to be. So to answer your question from before, that's why we're here again tonight. Because the first round of changes, we ended up, once we mapped it, they were completely zoned out of residential areas. So that's why they're not the same vendors that people are complaining about that are in someone's backyard or in someone's driveway. That's not at all our program. And we want to really be clear that we are making sure that vendors are applying by the regulations. However, we're asking that the regulations facilitate the scope and mission of this program, which is to increase access to healthy foods in low-income neighborhoods. So our target neighborhoods are Mayfair, Five Wounds, and Washington, and parts of downtown as well. That's primarily where the Fresh Carts will be operating. The 3 changes that we're asking for, it's in order to allow low-income residents the entrepreneurial business opportunities of starting a Fresh Carts business. $850 is just too much all at once. So again, we're not asking that to be lowered, we're just asking them to only have to pay for 1 year at a time. Sounds like my time is up, so thank you.
Okay. Question? Yes.
Yes, my name is Noah Keller.
Sorry, question
Yes,
from the,
I'm sorry.
question from the commission?
Yes, my name is Norma Calloway for District 2, and always on the upper part of my mind is the humanitarianism and the compassion, and of course, in this situation, considering the neighborhood and socioeconomic abilities and all of that. But my question to you at this time is whether or not these people are employed by the Health Trust, or are they working as independent contractors?
They're completely independent. We facilitate them having the ability to get a loan at a low interest rate, and we fund organizations such as Sacred Heart and New America to provide them training and technical assistance, but they are not our employees.
But for the majority of these people, this is their main means of
It completely
earning.
depends. It could be their main means, it could be in addition to another job, it could be to supplement income. We do, however, have oversight, because in order for them to receive an umbrella and any of the marketing material that we provide, they have to abide by the regulations as well as the rules of the program.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, I know that there was confusion earlier regarding other vendors versus fresh cart vendors, and I appreciate that you noted that there are very few fresh cart vendors due to how tight the restrictions are. And what I throw out there for the Health Trust and your partners is maybe posting online the locations of approved fresh cart vendors, just for transparency, so people could see, so I could see. Oh, there you go, okay. And just making sure that people know that that's available so that they don't confuse the vendors. I know that it's very clear, so I just want to throw that suggestion out. And then just want to throw out the suggestion to the city that perhaps the Health Trust or one of the partners in future presentations be allowed to present information so that the audience is very clear on what is being discussed. I'll just throw in one comment. Like I said, I too would be concerned about these other types of vendors, and so I do appreciate that the Willow Glen resident voiced that concern, and maybe that's something that we could look at in the future, both supporting a healthy lifestyle through fresh cart type services, while at the same time discouraging non-healthy lifestyles through vendors who may not be in compliance.
I was wondering if perhaps your organization would be able to front the money for the permits. I mean, if they're going to go through all the training and everything else like that, give them the $850, have them pay you.
So we don't find that to be a sustainable program. Our concern is really making sure that programs are sustainable past their funding. We provide seed funding, and we provide the opportunities, but to front the permits every time, that would require us to fund this program infinitely. So we didn't think that that was economically sustainable.
But they would refund, instead of paying the 1/3 of $850 to the city every year, they would pay 1/5 the $850 to you, so at the end of the time, you'd be.
But just like the planning department, we're not set up to be a lender. That's really not our primary focus. We're not structured in that way. And
It's just that I understand the city's problem, that it costs $800 and some to do the inspection, and so if they did it every year, they would.
I don't understand it though.
Anyhow,
Yeah, to your point here, the fresh food, this ordinance or this change is broad. It doesn't limit the fresh food, am I wrong?
it's only for fresh carts. It's only
This
for
ordinance
vendors of
is-
full uncut produce.
This ordinance?
What I read in the documentation that we received and what I read now is this is for vending of whole uncut fruits and vegetables. Apples, bananas, this
so
is
the
all
chocolate
about
salesman,
fruit.
the ice cream salesman, that's different?
No, because I see the presentation says outdoor peddling, but I didn't see it in our parameters are limited to fresh food. I understand what the position is, but I didn't see it limited.
We got more public comments too, so, I mean.
I'll hold my question until there's more comments.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Tyler Atkinson.
Good evening. My name is Tyler Atkinson. I'm with the law firm McManus Faulkner. We're a law firm in San Jose, and we represent a number of concerned community stakeholders. I have a photo. I wish I had a larger picture, but this is a picture of some peddlers outside, directly in front of a home in Willow Glen. There's a peddling problem in San Jose. And I heard a comment earlier this evening about there's concern, maybe people have concern over the rules being broken, but that's not what we're here for tonight. Hopefully, ideally, there will be enforcement. There isn't enforcement, and the idea of watering down the rules is not going to help things. The situation is out of control, and I just have 3 quick points to make. First, as it's taking place right now, peddling in San Jose is a public nuisance. This is not a phenomenon to be further encouraged. Vending raises food sanitation concerns, which we do not believe have been adequately studied. It's great to get healthy food to children, but what are we getting to them? And beyond that, there are other ways to get healthy food to children. The schools, parents. Secondly, as it's taking place now, peddling in San Jose is a private nuisance. The major customers for peddlers, primary customers, are children. And that, I think, is why there's this interest in getting them near schools. Children, we saw some adorable children here tonight. Children don't follow the rules. They don't know where to stand. They don't know how to behave. And the phenomenon that you're seeing in Willow Glen and happening throughout San Jose is these child customers trample the private property of other people. The next photo I have on this phone is of a lawn that was ruined by a group of students who, they were just standing there waiting in line. Shrinking the budget from 100 feet to 50 feet is not going to help, especially if the children are not going to honor that 50-foot buffer.
Okay, time is up. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so what's the next step? We're having a public meeting. You're hosting it someplace?
We'd like the commission to co-host with us. On March 28th is the first date we were able to get, and then we're looking at another date in early April. The March 28th date would be here in these committee rooms from 10 to noon. And the other date would be somewhere in District 5. If the commission thinks that we need to do outreach beyond that, for example, in Willow Glen, we're happy to do that as well.
Okay, I guess it's open for discussion. Dave.
David Dearborn, District 6. I appreciate you all being here and the comments from both sides. It's quite moving. Regarding the cost of administration on the part of the city, I remember in my career in aerospace and military, there was a development of a process called ISO 2000, which goes back a few years, and it's been updated ever since. And it's a process where vendors, contractors, and people doing business are qualified based upon their documentation, oversight, and process. And where it becomes qualified, it then becomes certified. And if there is funding, oversight, training, logo, purchase, and rules, and such, unlike what was displayed in this last presentation, maybe that could be certified and allowed with less cost, less inspection, and less oversight, and let the health trust, as long as it remains qualified, behaves appropriately, and grows without complaint and problems, be less cost than the cities. I have a permit, I have a process every so often, which tends to be quite a burden on a bit of fresh fruit.
Okay. Dan?
Dan Keller from District 9. I fully understand the stance of the audience here, and I think it's definitely what I would support too. But we are talking about an ordinance across the city, so it's not just one area, one district, one small group of people that we're talking about here. It's across everything. The problem that I see as the biggest is that if there's no enforcement of the existing policy, trying to relax it is not going to help it at all. But it is definitely going to help the group that it's targeting, which I think is what we should be doing as a city to help that out. But by relaxing that, you're going to have more vendors that are going to take out a permit under perhaps under this guise of healthy food. But if there's no enforcement, who's going to discourage them from doing that? I think it's very important that there be there be enforcement of the policy in the areas that are having some issues. So if it's Willow Glen, I see them in my neighborhood on the corners. I know they're not supposed to be there, but if they pull out a permit, education of the public is not going to be able to refute that, and they'll go, oh, they got a permit, and they won't do anything about it. So it's also, I think, the city's responsibility to help with the enforcement, get that out there and make sure that if they're on the corners, they're taken care of, and they are warned, and then they are fined for doing that to discourage the behavior while allowing healthy carts to do what they should be doing in the communities.
I have one quick question myself, is about trash pickup. I mean, fresh, whole food, I'm thinking apple cores and banana peels. Does they pick them up afterwards?
There are requirements already within the code with regard to every type of vending, and yes, there are requirements for fresh fruit and vegetables as well, to dispose of any trash.
So you have another set of categories for other carts that sell tacos, and another cart requirement for people to sell hot dogs, and another one that sells ice cream. I mean, is there a whole bunch of categories? Do they all have the similar types of rules? And we're just asked to talk about fresh food tonight.
Well, yes and no. So there are different regulations for vendors that are stationary, that are not moving around, they're not pushing their carts and selling ice creams with the little bell. And then that's further broken down into the ones that are stationary and located on your public sidewalk, and the ones that are located on private property, like in a church parking lot, for example. Within the ones that, for example, are on church property, it doesn't matter what type of wares that you're selling, you're all regulated the same, with the exception of fresh fruit, fresh, whole, uncut fruit and vegetables. There's a specific carve out for these people to encourage access to healthy foods. And that was what was approved by council in May of 2013. And that's what we're talking about tonight, to further amend the regulations so that they have more locations to vend from on private property.
Okay. I'm getting more public comment requests, it looks like. So Helen Selinsky. And then I want to close and we got to move on. So Helen, you want to talk quickly?
This gentleman just, Brian from District 6, just took the words out of my mouth. This is just such a broad amendment to, yeah, we don't see a lot of the fresh mobile peddlers because the majority of them are the pink popcorn crap that everybody eats. And kids, when they get out of school, they don't generally go and buy an orange or an apple. They go after the carbs and the junk, and they're all packaged. And we have a vendor in our neighborhood that likes to put soda in a plastic bag and shove a straw in it. And that straw in that plastic bag gets littered all over the neighborhood. So again, this is, I'm not picking on, I would love fresh food to be sold to our youth, but it's concerning that these kids are eating this garbage and they're littering on our on our lawns. And 50 foot, and no one's enforcing this. There is absolutely no enforcement. The only one that comes out is the health department. God bless Peter. But San Jose PD's understaffed, and am I up? Oh, okay.
Okay. Question for her? Yeah, okay.
No, I know you were about to close it out and say.
Oh, I have another speaker here too, so. Oh. Okay, Ed Rask, how are you?
Oh, no, well, Ed will take forever, so.
But he's very
I haven't seen Ed in a long time.
Okay. Thank you, Helen. Ed.
Ed Raskin, speaking for myself. I'm very supportive of the concept. The issue you deal with in San Jose all the time, though, is that when we have people who don't follow the rules, there's no enforcement. So one of the things that you may want to think about, if the Health Trust is sponsoring this, is because then have them basically take out like a master license. And in turn, right now we've got, if you want to start a business in San Jose, it's about $150. So the individuals who are running the carts could essentially go under the business license. So that way you would get the cost down dramatically. And therefore you'd be able to accomplish it. And therefore, the business license, that you'd have the master vending license by the Health Trust and a business license by the individual vendors. And if they basically violated the rules, you pull their business license. It'd be relatively simple, because otherwise, you're not going to be able to do it, or what's going to happen is one person who has the money is going to go out there and say, all right, I'll hire 5 or 6 people, I'll get 5 or 6 licenses for this, and I'll do it that way. What you're really trying to do is, one, get healthy food to people, and second of all, I think what you're trying to do is incentivize people to start small businesses so they can build up and eventually be self-supporting by themselves. Unless you look at both of those areas and come up with some sort of a way to have that accomplished, I don't think it's going to be successful. Thank you.
Okay, so anybody else from the audience want to talk? I'm going to close public comment now. Okay.
So I just wanted to say that, so what I'm hearing is a lot of support for vending of fruit, and what I do want to say is that since one of our areas is neighborhood safety, that we should probably at a future Neighborhoods Commission meeting have a presentation from the city regarding the enforcement against the other types of vendors that we've heard, to make sure that it's followed up on, and to see what we can do to motivate further enforcement, and that's it.
Okay, so what I'm seeing also is that there's going to be, they want to hold 2 or more public meetings to get more input.
Mr. Chair,
and
what's been asked is if the Neighborhoods Commission would co-sponsor 2 meetings at least. You do
sort of like with the drones.
Right. You've done such a great model with the drones, and actually been very successful in reaching out to the community that the City Hall potential on March 28th would be the same format as the original December 6th meeting, where you'd invite everyone from the city to attend. The meeting in District 5, which seems to center around where this organization of the vendors are potentially doing business, that's why it would be in District 5. Would also be a citywide meeting. I'm looking for a location. However, the ask is, and motion would be required to co-sponsor the meeting, at least 2 meetings. It sounds like the commission is interested in a future discussion on this item. So if the chair would entertain a motion from one of the commissioners to co-sponsor at least 2 community meetings on this item, that would be greatly appreciated.
We have to have somebody else monitor it. I've already had other commitments for that day, though. So discussion.
Oh no, I was ready to motion.
Oh, you want to make a motion? Okay. Any other discussion beforehand? Okay, make a motion then.
So I'm sorry, I'm Juan Estrada from a Neighborhoods Commissioner from District 5, and I motion that the Neighborhoods Commission co-sponsor at least 2 community meetings, both of which will be citywide, to present information and get input from the community, but also to allow the organization, whether it's Sacred Heart or the Health Trust or one of the partners, to also present information so that the scope and the topic are very clear to the audience.
That's a very long motion.
I'll second Mr. Estrada's very long motion.
Discussion. First off, would somebody be able to chair this thing? Our co-chair is Matt Whalen, who's not here tonight, so I want to at least have one person say they can be here.
We've had several meetings on other issues, Saturdays in March. We have the mayor, several other things. Could we move this out to maybe April or something?
The administration can accommodate whatever dates the commission is interested in supporting us at. The reason we were trying to get dates on the calendar is because the community organizations were asking that we get before the city council sooner rather than later, given the clients that they have lined up to do this type of vending.
So I have no problems with the group doing it on March 28th, as long as somebody will agree to.
I can be available. It looks like it's 10 a.m. to noon on the 28th, and it's a Saturday.
Yes, it's a Saturday.
So I can definitely be available.
Okay. Yeah, and I just want to clarify that first.
Yeah.
Right, and Mr. Chair, These are meetings, as I've mentioned before, purely for information. You don't need a quorum, so you can actually designate someone to chair the meeting. Whether it's Matt Whalen or yourself, if you're not available, you can designate somebody else to chair the meeting. No action will be taken, no motions made. Any commissioners who can or can't make it, that's fine also. You don't need a quorum, so even if there's only 2 or 3 commissioners there, that's fine.
And perhaps it'll be recorded so we can watch it on the video on YouTube afterwards. Okay, so we have a motion and a second to host a March 28th meeting here and a meeting, co-sponsor a meeting here and then co-sponsor another meeting in District 5 someplace at a time to be determined. Any further discussion? So we'll call the question. All in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? Okay, looks like we'll have some meetings. I thank you all for attending.